Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Eclectic podcast. It's me, Mark, and today I have my first guest and someone who's definitely going to be a recurring co-host, Caleb, my younger brother and former coach of a few teams, who's definitely going to be helping me a lot with today's topic. So I'll let him introduce himself.
How we doing, podcast world? This is Calib Alexander. I'm happy to be on here. Talk about some sports, give a little insight on some things that are going on in the sports world today.
So today we'll be talking about the NBA restart. So first question is it actually safe for the players to be playing in Orlando instead of the second choice, which would have been in Las Vegas? So me personally, I think at the time when they were voting, I think it was a good choice just because the facility-wise, I think Orlando, with them choosing the Disney sports area, they definitely had more options and a wider space to work with compared to Las Vegas with Robert and Mack Center, which they usually do their summer league games in.
For sure. On the topic of should they be playing, I do think that it's the people need it. If you ask me, I would say that with all the turmoil we got going on, I don't think that it takes away from especially the social injustice. I know we'll talk about that later in the show, but I do think that to give some level of normalcy back to people, us being able to just turn on the TV and maybe see a sport, even if it takes us away from all the evil and bad that's going on in the world, or the stress of the coronavirus being quarantined, gives us something to look at on TV, something to talk about, something to bring us together. So I do think that it could be, I hope nobody else gets. I saw Russell Westbrook today got the coronavirus, but I'm in good spirits that this will end up being a good thing.
So yeah, with that, I totally agree. We definitely need something that's a little bit, even though sports is never lighthearted, I think that it brings us back to some type of normality. So with that, would you have still chosen Florida over Las Vegas, even with Florida, with the cases building up with the coronavirus?
I think when they decided on Orlando, I don't think it was booming like the cases. I don't think we had even got above 10,000 a day. Now we're at 15,000 a day, so everybody's like, why did they pick Florida? But I don't think when they originally decided on Florida being the place that they knew that can't predict the future. But I don't think that we were that bad at the time. Now looking at it with hindsight, yeah, it's easy to say, okay, maybe we should have picked Vegas. I think both of them being hot tourist destinations, right? So everybody wants to go to Las Vegas. That's probably what they were thinking. Who visit what more? I mean, you got, Disney World is obviously a hot spot for the world, but so is Las Vegas. So I don't think you could have picked right in this situation. They're both heavily populated areas, but in hindsight, Florida probably wasn't the best bet. Yeah, that's what I would say on that.
Well, I think with them choosing Florida, I think with Orlando, it maybe was, all right, what's going to keep the players out of more trouble when you think about it? Because Las Vegas is easier for young players with a lot of money to get in trouble. So I think that's why they lean more towards Orlando compared to Las Vegas. And on top of that, again, you can't go wrong with Disney. I mean, they have a whole sports section just for that. Because I've been there for some of their tournaments for basketball, and I've seen their sports world, and it just makes sense for basketball, especially if they're going to be there for months.
Yeah, I don't even know of any. I guess you got UNLV and different things you can do in Las Vegas. We actually lived out there for a short period of time, but I think sports facility wise, definitely, Florida definitely has more, especially in Orlando, what they do with AAU tournaments, Disney sports facilities. I think that it's a better spot sports wise, I would feel.
Yeah. So so far it's been with the teams being in the bubble, they're definitely taking precautions with the whole wristbands. If anybody's seen them, where it literally detects whether or not they leave the bubble, pretty much keeping the players contained to their rooms, which is why some players have been like tweeting before they even got there, like they feel like they're going to do a bid in jail or they're going uptown. But it's like, the NBA is doing all they can to keep the players safe. And even though I don't think the players are used to it, this is maybe like the closest thing to them going back to their AAU days and being contained like young players.
Yeah, I think that they should definitely embrace it. This is like it's kind of like a first world problem. They're used to being in their mansions. The only thing that is unfortunate is that they got to be away from their family for so long. But if you decide that you're gonna play for the league, and then the league decides that they're going to continue the season, it is a circumstance where you gotta abide by these rules so we can do everything safe for everyone. So I think they'll be fine. It's not even LeBron, when he said he's leaving the James gang, he feels like he's going to go do a bid. You got to take it jokingly because these guys are millionaires. they're in the nice hotels. I saw Rondo's room. Rondo's room, that's a pretty nice room. You know what I'm saying? I would stay there for extended time. So I think they'll be fine. They'll get over it after a while. Like you said, back to the AAU days to make them feel a little younger. That's what I think that it's they'll be fine.
So on to the next topic with the NBA restart. We're going to be talking about, is it really a distraction? And again, I don't think it's a distraction because the NBA, even though they're limiting what they can do with their jerseys, they're giving them a chance to like put something on their back of their name that has to do with either equality or change, like other stuff like that will help promote the social reforms that are going on right now.
Yes. So like Kyle Korver decided to put Black Lives Matter on the back of his.
I think Marcus Smart decided to put freedom on the back of his.
Yeah. So these guys, they still get to voice their opinions. No one's stopping them from still tweeting or using social media to voice their opinions. It just they've lost the opportunity to be out on the streets right now. So I know some of them they
would rather be like involved in the protests and the movement.
For sure.
But I think, they can still get their word across even while they're playing.
Yeah.
Because nobody's stopping them from still talking like you said.
Now it is, I can understand I understand where people are coming from, the ones that are worried about it, right? Like, and not even just the players, just the people who think, okay, we're in the middle of this huge social injustice era. We're finally starting to get some progress. And now some of our key voices, LeBron James, they're going to be confined to a bubble for
months,
3 months or something like that. So, there's a little worry that, things may taper off or simmer down. And I understand why people think that. But this whole movement is bigger than just the NBA players. Right. So like with or without them, we still could get out there and do what's right and voice our opinions. And we're not losing them entirely. They're just giving us something to take our mind off of everything we've been going through.
Right. Yep. That's definitely something I can agree with. So now we're going to be talking about the actual restart process itself. So the way they're doing the restart is they're having 22 teams play, and they're first doing 8 regular season games or seeding tournaments for pretty much for the NBA players to get their legs back and also help the bottom tier teams possibly play for a position in, and also to change possibly the seeding for the teams that are up top. So the teams that are invited, the 22 that made it are, for the Eastern Conference, it's the Milwaukee Bucks at the 1 seed, Toronto Raptors, Boston Celtics, Miami Heat, Indiana Pacers, Philadelphia 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, Orlando Magic, and the Washington Wizards. So the Washington Wizards, the Magic, and the Nets are the teams that, position-wise, when it comes to the playoff, aren't locked in, and they actually have to play to keep their position in, or for the Wizards' case, possibly jump into the playoffs to get locked in. So with the other top 6 teams, all they're doing is possibly shifting the top 6 spots so they can possibly get home court advantage or possibly just stay where they're at. So for the Western Conference, we have Los Angeles Lakers, the LA Clippers, Denver Nuggets, Utah Jazz, Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, Dallas Mavericks, Memphis Grizzlies, Portland Trailblazers, New Orleans Pelicans, Sacramento Kings, San Antonio Spurs, and last is the Phoenix Suns. So the Western Conference one is the one that's a little bit more tricky due to the fact that even though the bottom teams for the Western Conference are literally, I want to say 6 games apart from winning the 8th seed, which Memphis currently holds with 32 wins. The other teams ahead of them are all, even though technically they're locked, they can possibly lose their spot completely if one of these teams at the bottom happen to hit an 8-game winning streak. Just magically hits one due to the fact that the second seed in the Western Conference, which is the LA Clippers, only have 44 wins. The next team, 43, 41, 40, 40, 40, and then 32. So any of the bottom teams, like Portland, who has 29, if they happen to win all 8 games, that can literally jump them up to possibly even the 4th seed.
Yep. Portland, wow. I didn't know that it was 29 and 37. Yeah. So, we did talk about Portland before we actually got on today.
Yeah.
And they could make a run.
Yeah.
So if any team, I think out of both conferences could make a run, you got top tier player, NBA 2021 cover athlete, by the way.
That's for the PS4 version.
Okay, I'm just saying. Hey, we play PlayStation in here.
Yep.
But Damian Lillard, who's clutch
and who's actually coming off injury, so he's maybe more rested than anybody else.
His 2-guard CJ McCollum is solid. Still got Carmelo Anthony, who I just saw some latest photos. He's slimmed up, might be on his second win in his career, who knows?
Yep.
And then you got not only Hassan Whiteside down below, so you got a rebounding force, a guy who leads the league in blocks with, I think, 3.1 a game right now.
Yeah.
You also have Nurkic if he's healthy. I don't think you start him.
Yeah.
But if he's healthy, that guy, he's pretty solid, when healthy. But obviously, we know his history in the playoffs. He gets injured quite a bit. But he's a top tier guy. So if you got those two, Twin Towers down low, whether you rotate them in or have them in at the same time, and then you got those 2 solid guards, I think if anybody can make a run, to be Portland before any other team I see that's.
So here's the thing, though. If you look at ESPN and you hear Twitter, this tournament, at least for the Western Conference side, pretty much it was like, it's for let's get Zion Williams into the playoffs. That's what everybody looks at it as. It's due to the fact of with him coming back from his injury, we just seen him go on an amazing run. Just in those 19 games he played. So it's like, all right, people are kind of like, trying to make the excuse of, all right, he came in so hot. What if we had like a full season of him? What if we had more games? What happens if we get him into the playoffs? Because it's like this. People are saying, would you rather see John Morant in a upstart Memphis Grizzlies play, or would you rather see the team that has Zion Wilson, has Brandon Ingram, who won the All-Star position this year, and Lonzo Ball, who everybody still likes and still wants to see?
Yeah, Lonzo's rising for sure.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you want to see him in the playoffs over John Morant and a team that's doing better than expected?
That's a tough question, but you got to think. They gotta think about their money as well, right? And if you just go back to the Duke days, right? When Zion was on television, not when they're playing in the little sucky schools or whatever, when they had a big game, you got the Zion cam, which has never been done for anybody in sports, college basketball sports. This guy gets on the court and he's immediately at prime time. It's like, stop what you're doing, Zion Williamson. And then, God forbid, he gets on a fast break. Everybody in the house is yelling, or everybody at the bar is yelling, So, he came up, lit it up. What do you know, 5 3-point range, something crazy like that. In a small amount of time, they were restricted in minutes. I think it would be interesting to watch him play, just because if I'm the NBA, I would love to have Zion, because he's dollar signs when he's out there. People are gonna watch. But more deserving team play. Like I said, I know you said Brandon Ingram All-Star, and John Morant, he's in prime time too.
I mean, John Morant, he's
solid.
the rookie of the year. Doesn't matter what anybody says. Even with
not sure
with Zion playing well as he did with his small sample size, it's like
who's his competition for rookie of the year?
From what I heard, obviously Zion, just the way his hot start is. But the other person out, the only rookie that I really heard was Kobe White, the Chicago Bulls, but that's kind of iffy. So it's like it's literally John Morant's and John Morant's only when it comes to rookie of the year.
I got you. It's a John Morant. You know, obviously the rookie of the year, you want to see him. If he got an opportunity to play in the playoffs, you want to see what he can do his first year.
Yeah.
I still would say it just depends on how you want to go. If you want to see high flying crazy, I don't go that way. I think we're a guard led league right now, so I wouldn't. For me, either or is fine. But obviously, the NBA would probably prefer, for the pockets wise, they've lost enough money this season, right? They'd probably prefer to have Zion, a healthy Zion Wilson, over another high flying guard.
Well, I mean, it's like this. Nobody was expecting John Morant. Well, I won't say John Morant. Nobody was expecting Memphis to be as good as they were this year. I mean, they got rid of Marc Gasol, got rid of Zach Randolph a couple years ago, and they traded Mike Conley on a whim just because, you know, he was worth a lot of money but wasn't producing. So it's like, all right, let's take a chance on the rookie. And the rookie is literally doing everything they were expecting him to do a couple years down the road, but literally doing it first year, making Memphis a playoff contender, and pretty much he's bringing the excitement that they definitely weren't expecting. Because I definitely was one of those people that was thinking like, all right, he's going to a situation that's more like it's going to take a couple years before they get where they want to be at. Because what they drafted Triple J last year, and he was all right, but it wasn't like, all right, he's going to be the great replacement for Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph. But when Jock showed up with everybody else, like Dylan Brooks and all the other guys for Memphis, he definitely lifted that team up way faster and quicker than what was expected.
What's difficult is both of them playing on the West. So you're talking about Zion and you're talking about Ja. You're playing in the Western Conference, which is the dominant conference.
Yeah.
I know Johnson's in the East trying to make the East seem like it's, you know, but when you look at the West, it's top tier teams.
Oh yeah, I mean, just think about all the guards in the West.
Yeah.
Like
so it's tough. It's tough. Because night in and night out, you got to play. In the East, you almost got like bye weeks or like a game that's just like, okay, if we go out here and do.
I mean, except for the Lakers, you can literally look at all the teams that are top in the West. You got the Clippers. Mm-hmm. All right, they have Lou Williams, have Beverly. Not like the top guys, but it's like, all right, you got a defensive, just like top tier defensive guard and a hot street guard in Lou Williams.
Yeah, you got who I would say is one of the best six men of all time. We've had this conversation.
Yeah, and then with Denver, you got Gary Harrison and Jamal Murray, who are literally just walking buckets. Mm-hmm. Utah's got Joe Ingles and Donovan Mitchell. Mm-hmm. Two guys that are definitely top tier guards for the West. Oklahoma definitely has Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous, who Oklahoma is definitely a better team than what was expected this year.
Yeah, Oklahoma, that's probably one of the
surprise teams.
The under the radar duos right now. You know, Chris Paul is still on a tear.
Yep.
Still liable to go off for 20 and 20. You know, so I don't think people are giving them the respect. I think they will surprise a few people. But again,
here's the thing. I still think that the way Shai kind of jumped from year one to year two, it's like, did the Clippers win by trading for Paul George? Because it's like Shai, he's definitely doing way better than what was expected. Like Shai, he wasn't talking about last year, but he definitely did good. But Clippers made it to the playoffs, but they weren't expecting him to be blowing up that quick. And as soon as he gets traded, put him next to Chris Paul, playing in a position he's not used to, playing the two guard. He's just going off, still shifty, still can play his game even with Chris Paul.
Yeah. Chris Paul makes it a little easier to play too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's if you had to build a point guard, you know, a guy who's going to get you a few steals, going to lead the team in assists.
Yep.
be the court general that you need him to be, and make his open shots and make some difficult shots. I'm taking him over a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
I don't know anyone who's a better pure point guard than Chris Paul.
Oh yeah. And then let's just start talking about the seeds since we got the time.
Okay.
So let's talk about for the East. We have obviously the Bucks at number 1. Do they have a threat against them when you think about it?
I mean, a lot of people are sleeping. The Raptors. I still feel like you got the returning champs.
Yeah.
Van Fleet. Did anybody expect him to be that good that last season?
I think that's why he was so good, because nobody's expecting that from him.
But I mean, he was destroying people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've seen clips like he had crossed KD up and hit shots and that.
Oh no, he definitely had. They made him against Curry just look like a complete mismatch.
Yeah,
in that finals.
For sure. I was reading on ESPN that the Raptors have a better win percentage and average scoring margin than they did when they had Kawhi. So 71% of their game.
Well, I think their game is more fluid now, because it's like, all right, we got to get it to Kawhi. Oh yeah. Pascal, it's like he's an all-star. He definitely got that position well deserved, and I think he'll definitely make the leap once the playoffs are rolling. But I think with Toronto, it's like, all right, you had Kawhi. Kawhi was your push.
Yeah.
But who's filling in that gap? Because it's like, all right, you got Norman Powell, who's played definitely well this year. OG Anunoby, he's coming back from injury from last year, and he's always been like, all right, this is the guy that people are saying he can be Kawhi, or he can be your Pittman, because he has the height, he has the size, he has the defense. But it's like his offense, it's not far, but it's like, all right, it's right there in the middle.
Let me ask you this. You got you got the Raptors, right? They've lost Kawhi Leonard. Yes. So they've lost Kawhi Leonard, and you gotta think, if they can find someone to score in the clutch, I think they got enough defenders on the team. What's really stopping them from making another run in the East? I would say, maybe if the 76ers finally show up, if they finally do what they're supposed to do, they got one of the most dominant centers we've seen in a long time. They got a freak at point guard in Ben Simmons. I'm just trying to figure out why the Raptors aren't seen in a better light. I mean, yeah, you got Giannis, but
they are a 2 seed, so that's the thing that people got to respect.
For sure, they went through the whole season. They're a 2 seed, and you're talking about, I mean, winning more games than Miami, who's a solid team right now.
Yeah.
And like I said, they won more games than the 76ers. And then you got Giannis, who was the reigning MVP last year. That's the only team that's got more wins than them, and I don't even think it's a wide margin. Was it 4 games or something like that?
No, it's about, let's see, Milwaukee's 153, Toronto's 146, so it's not large.
So it's about 7 games. Yeah, so 7 games, and you just lost your Finals MVP and star player. Still, I mean, they got a better percentage going into the playoffs. So I mean, I think I would definitely not be surprised if we see the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. If they make it to the finals, they'll probably water down Kawhi's last ring, but they're a good team with a great coach. So
yeah, because I think Nick Nurse definitely gave the game plan when it comes to handling Giannis. Even though he had Kawhi, who's definitely one of the best defenders we've had in a long time, but the way he played them as a team defensively is kind of a reason why they're still going to be around.
He's going to shoot. He's going to shoot off the dribble. It's not going to be something where he's got just an open shot. When you see him hit his threes, it's usually he's got enough space to take one dribble.
No, it's kind of like he's wide open.
Yeah, he's wide open. He's not, but he has to shoot off the dribble.
Oh, he's in trouble.
The game gets very interesting for whoever's facing him.
All right, so the 3 seed, we have Boston, who has Kemba, Jason Tatum breaking out, Jaylen Brown doing better than expected. And other than that, it's kind of like Gordon Hayward. He's getting his legs back. He's definitely a good, I want to say above average rotation player.
Yeah.
But the big flaw that everybody's been talking about with Boston, you can say for the past like 2 seasons, is that they have no center. They have no big man.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. They're so guard heavy and the small forward heavy that I think that people are forgetting. In my opinion, they upgraded that point guard.
Oh yeah, that's
we can
talk about that at another time. But I say like
people love the
we're gonna have to talk about. We're gonna have to give Kyrie his own episode and really get into detail because
but people love that sensational player of Kyrie.
Yeah,
but they forget when you talk about a winner, especially in clutch situations. I'm taking Kyrie hit that 3 in a tie game.
Here's the thing though. But here's the thing. You got to think about why he was in that situation.
Kemba at every level.
When you have a certain, possibly the greatest player of all time, put you in that situation.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like this. The reason why we know why Kemba is a better, because he can do it. He literally is. He made Charlotte stay relevant when they should have been in the pretty much in the trash for like over decades. Oh yeah, and then like the fact that he didn't want to pay him is another reason why that's a bad look.
Yeah, but it's Jordan. We got to get him some conversation.
But Kemba, I think he's a better fit. And the thing is, though, he's changed his game a little bit to where, all right, he can still dance, he can still get his points. At the same time, though, he's on a team where he know he can win. He know he can look to his left, and you got Jason Tatum. Look to his right, you got Jaylen Brown. He can look to the wing, and he got Gordon Hayward. He has people that can actually make moves and not put it all on him, so he can actually work and have no issues. So I think Boston is definitely the wild card team just due to the fact of their dynamic is a little off, but they can win. And I think with that, if their coach comes with the right game plan, they can obviously get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know if they can beat Giannis in 7 games, because even though we look at Milwaukee and Giannis, we gotta remember they still got Chris Middleton, All-Star. You got Eric Bledsoe. You got George Hill coming off the bench. You got the the Lopez twins. So it's like they're still deep when it comes to Milwaukee, and that's been like the other issue, other than just worrying about what we can do about.
Chris Middleton's an All-Star. If you're asking me, I think that Boston, they've got all the pieces there besides the bona fide center. But you're working with 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" guards. They're tall enough to where they can get in there and get some rebounds. They can get dirty. And then you got a point guard who's a winner. Like people forget, like Kemba is a winner at every level. Like clutch moments.
Yep.
Because we don't watch. No one's watching the Hornets prime time. We don't get a lot of airtime, but he's still hitting game winners with them.
Yep.
So I think his first go around the playoffs with this team, he could upset some people. I would still, if I was a betting man, I would say that you're going to see Giannis in the Raptors.
I'll say this. Kemba is still, I'll say right now in the East, when it comes to all these teams right now, except for maybe Washington, who isn't in the playoffs yet but can play their way into it, I think he's the best point guard right now when it comes to the 9 eligible teams. Like, I don't think there's another point guard better than him.
Yeah.
So now we'll talk about the 4 seed. The team that's good in some cases, but at the same time, it's like they can be off. And that is the Miami Heat.
The most exciting team to watch in the East, by the way, the Miami Heat. Pat Riley knows what he's doing. I do think that they're a little young. Maybe in this new setting though, because they're not too far away from home. I think that it'll be exciting to watch them. They got high flyers. They got dynamic duo trio almost down there. But the Miami Heat, as far as like prime time, if I was going to pay to watch some people play, Nunn and Hero,
and you got Bam Adebayo,
first
time All-Star.
Yeah, these guys are. That is the team to watch if you're going to watch a team on the Eastern Conference night in and night out. Giannis is going to do the same thing.
Well, it's like this. They got Jimmy Butler with the starting small forward. You got Goran Dragic still playing the point, who's always been solid. and then they made that trade for Andre Iguodala. So it's like
so you got a veteran, you got a Finals MVP. People gotta when you say Andre Iguodala, you gotta state that not only is he an NBA champion, but he's a Finals MVP. Okay. Then you gotta add that you got Jimmy Butler, who's a bona fide, he's an all-star. This guy's the real deal. If anybody, like I said, if I'm gonna pay money, I'm gonna watch those. I'm gonna watch Miami. Do I think that they've got the coaching and they've proven that in late game situations that they can win games? I'm not sure of that yet. But as far as like exciting things, someone that the younger generation is going to be excited for because these guys are ushering new age, that's what I would say to watch them play for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're a 4 seed, so they got the home court advantage. They just gotta hold on to it. I think even with it being a restart, they still have a home court advantage because they're still in Florida. So next we're talking about the 5 seed, the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers, they're definitely a team that's kind of definitely been all team ball because they've been out with pretty much in and out with Victor Oladipo, who's still dealing with an injury from last year. So the fact that they still end up with an all-star with Sabonis, Miles Turner, who's had an off season, still doing good, doing solid enough to where they're still a 5 seed in the East, which is kind of indicative of the East. At the same time, though, shows how well Nate McMillan as a coach has been able to do. So what do you think?
So Indiana, I mean, like you said, team ball. I think they got a first round exit. I think it's going to be safe to say that they'll be ushered out very quickly. With Victor Oladipo not playing, they're literally just a man's filler spot at this point. I mean, they play Washington a few times. I don't see it being that even interesting as a game. I don't see things being close. I don't even see a team that they really beat matchup wise without Victor Oladipo to give them that superstar power. So there's not much to talk about on my end when we're talking about Indiana. I do respect their center, but that's not.
All right, so now we're going to talk about a 6 seed team that's definitely underachieved this season, and that's the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, so if you would have told me that, if you would have just gave me the names of everybody in the East who's going to make the playoffs or who's going to make the top 6 seeds for this bubble, and then told me to place them, I would have had Philly in the top 4. They're 1 game away from advancing last year. If it wasn't for that miraculous 3-pointer from Kawhi Leonard.
They say 4 bounces.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I do think that you got to be mindful that Ben Simmons, he wants revenge. But people are getting Joel Embiid was very emotional after that last game.
Oh yeah.
And if you see him after any playoff loss, he gets really, he's passionate about it. I mean, the guy came in a full hazmat suit and mask just to ensure that he could play in this game. He wasn't taking any risk. So I think he'll be on a tear. If you look at the East, there's not really too many centers who compare to him when they're out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the Lopez brothers who could probably bang a little with him, but when he's in his bag and really flowing, it gets ugly from center. Like he can go off for 40.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll say this: the whole thing with them choosing Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler, I think that's something that's definitely still a little over their head right now. When you look at Miami, especially with Jimmy Butler going to a younger team that nobody's expecting to, go off the way they are.
Jimmy, you either gel with him or you don't. And you got to think big picture chemistry. I think Tobias Harris, he's been able to flow with different teams,
right?
And he's never been somebody you've seen in the tabloid that's.
Well, there was that one time when he was in Orlando. He pretty much told Orlando if he
early
had
on
choice.
His career, correct. But
yeah.
If you think about Jimmy, Jimmy will tell his teammates they suck to their face, right? And kill any team.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Butler said before he left Miami that he didn't have an issue. It wasn't like Minnesota. It wasn't like Chicago. It was the office choosing all right, they're more of, they don't want Jimmy to be the guy. They wanted Ben or Joel to be the guy, and they didn't know if Jimmy would be comfortable with that. So that's why they ended up choosing Tobias, who somebody.
In hindsight, they should have kept him.
Yeah.
I don't really. I'm not amazed by Tobias Harris's game.
I mean, he just does enough for somebody that needs to play the small forward. You know, you got your 6'8" guy. He can shoot. He can get to the paint, and he knows when to get his points and when to just stay off to the side and let Ben and Joel do their job.
Yeah, but I think he would have. Like, they still got JJ right now?
No. JJ's with New Orleans.
New Orleans, I got you. So,
no, they ended up getting Jason Richardson from Miami.
Okay, not a bad pickup. I mean, you lose. JJ Redick's a sharpshooter, of course.
Yeah.
You would like at some point, because if it's one person on the court, I mean, Ben has to get to the rack. He's not a good shooter.
Yeah.
Or he's got to create a shot for somebody. You'd like him to be able to kick out to somebody to hit a shot. So, you know, losing Jimmy B there, kind of losing Jimmy and JJ, you know, really transformed their offense. Probably why they're 16 now.
Yeah.
But and then when Joel's in the game, he can't clog up the paint while Ben's trying to get there. So there's a little contrast there. I can kind of now see why they're 60, but they still got two stars.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams only got one.
Yeah. And so next we have one of the teams that most likely, well, they'll be able to hold the spot, but I don't think they'll be holding this spot at the 7th spot. And that is the Brooklyn Nets, who currently have the only familiar face they currently have is Karis LeVert and Jared Allen, and they just signed Jamal Crawford and Michael Beasley, who was a bad choice of signing due to the fact that he's going to be suspended for the first 2 weeks for a previous suspension that had him to be out for a couple weeks, whether or not he was on a team or not. So as soon as he signed with a team, he had to do a suspension. So for the first couple games of this bubble tournament, Brooklyn is going to be out without Michael Beasley.
So Spencer Dinwiddie, you didn't.
Oh yeah, he's out due to the coronavirus. He chose to not go with the team due to that.
Yeah. So your three best scorers, I would say, are not playing on that team. Spencer Dinwiddie, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. If you told me the Brooklyn would even be thinking about playoffs without those three individuals on the floor, I would laugh at you. So even after all of that, do they have a chance? I mean, you're more hopeful than I am for these teams.
Here's the thing about
things that I don't see making any
I'll say this, though. They have the 7th seed. And the only thing they can worry about is, will Washington make some magical run without Bradley Beal and Davis Bertans, or will they just flame out? So it's like, it's them against Washington more likely. Whether or not do they want to play Toronto or do they want to play Milwaukee first?
Do they just want to lose to Toronto or do they want to lose to Milwaukee? I got you. Yeah, that's always going to happen. It's going to be a sweep. I can't see them winning one game. Who's the next team on the list? Who's the last?
All right, so the 8th seed is, well, actually the whole city team, the Orlando Magic. Well, the Orlando Magic, they've had...
I'm glad they got invited, by the way.
No. They had the 8th seed. It wasn't hey, we got invited just because it's our...
I hear you, but you imagine... It's like when you're watching NFL and a team's got the Super Bowl in the city and they're not there. You know, that's really got to suck.
No, I mean, it's like this. With them, they're still figuring out their roster due to the fact that it's still built horribly. But they got Coach Clifford, former Charlotte coach, who got them to the playoffs last year. Markelle Fultz, who they got in the trade from Philly, is doing better than expected. He's getting his shooting back. He's showing the athleticism and all that he had in college. Jonathan Isaac, guy from FSU they drafted a couple seasons ago. He's showing that he can be a top defensive player in the league. Obama still hasn't really picked up. Vucevic is still Vucevic, giving them 20 and 10 like always. And then Aaron Gordon is still trying to figure out whether or not he's a power forward, a wing, or a small forward. So it's a team that's definitely, I think they'll be able to hold on to the spot just because Washington, I don't know if John Wall's going to be playing yet or not, but I think it's now a matter of, can they get a better seeding? Because I think, I'll say this, I think they can give Milwaukee more of a problem than people think they can, just because Jonathan Isaac, He has a reach about the same height as what's it called, Giannis.
Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I think like he has that better matchup against Toronto, which is like a better team overall. So I think it's like obviously they're going to lose in the first round. That's a gift because their team is just.
Let's be correct. Well, actually they did get a playoff win last year. Augustine, they did beat the Raptors on 1 year.
Yeah, that's true.
Last year, but I still think they're going to get swept this year because they're most likely going to be playing
Milwaukee or Toronto.
They'll be playing Milwaukee. So
yeah.
But last year they did get a win, and the city went crazy, which was short-lived. But yeah. So Orlando, thanks for hosting. I guess.
So last we have the team that's trying to play into the playoffs. They're 6 games behind Orlando, and that's the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards don't have Bradley Beal, Davis Bertans, who broke out and pretty much showed that he's maybe the top 3-point shooter as a forward in the entire NBA. And he's not going to be playing due to the fact that he's trying to play it safe because he's going into free agency. They're definitely going to be getting a bag from somebody. And on top of that, it's still in the air whether or not John Wall is going to be able to play, who's coming off an Achilles heel.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you that this team will not matter in these playoffs. That's what I like to tell you. Yeah. If John Wall and Bradley Beal aren't playing, sayonara. They're just there because they didn't feel like being home. That's all.
All right, so next we're going to the West. We're going to be talking about pretty much the odds-on favorite to win, due to the fact that they have the most solid team right now, you can say, and that is the LA Lakers.
The LA Lakers. I would like to add something. Antoine Walker said something today that I thought was just so true about LeBron James. Okay, and don't let me go on a rant about LeBron James because I can talk about this man for a very long time. Antoine Walker said today that LeBron is not chasing 6 rings. Okay. He is chasing 1 ring. He's just chasing 1 ring so he can be a part of that class of Lakers who have won a ring. So he wants to be in that same conversation as Kareem, Magic, and of course the late great Kobe Bryant. So LeBron's his whole essence right now is let me win a ring as a Laker. So obviously the obvious favorites, they've got the best player in the world currently. They've got another top 5, maybe top 3 player, Anthony Davis, when he's on fire. And then team-wise, I mean, they're just solid from top to bottom, full of veterans. You look at guys like Danny Green,
Dwight Howard,
another guy who would have won Finals MVP if it wasn't for a hell of a comeback, But you got Danny Green, he's the champion. You got Dwight Howard, who's been to a finals before. So I think that luckily Rondo getting hurt gives some people a chance, but I do think that the Lakers.
I think now it's like who they replace Rondo with. It's obviously going to be a guard, but who is somebody they can find on free agency right now?
I will say this: the only way to stop LeBron from winning a ring this year is not letting him get to the finals. If he gets to the finals, there's nothing in the East that even remotely compares. So, like, Giannis is not going to be able to beat LeBron in a playoff game. I know everybody wants to say, hey, he's an MVP and all that stuff. But if Kawhi, with a 1-year head coach last year, was able to beat Giannis in, what was it, 6 games?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, 6 games. There's no way. There's no way that
because I'll say this.
Right now
I don't think that the Bucks can go against the Lakers because they don't have someone that can stop Anthony Davis. Because it's like this. You're going to have to choose your poison. You're going to have to choose your poison. All right, Giannis, are you going to play LeBron the whole game? Or are you going to play AD? Who are you going to let get 30 while the other guy's going to play 20 on the end?
Exactly. And you got to remember, LeBron's a pass-first guy.
Oh, yeah.
So if for some, first off, we're not going to sit here and joke like anybody can stop him from going to the rack if he wants to go to the rack. But we know that he is a little more passive. You just can't honestly say that you have a game plan for them. You just gotta hope you have a hell of a night. Your coaching and game plan works perfectly for 4 quarters, or just keep it close and hope you got a chance at the end. But if you're playing, I mean, the first 2 rounds, I don't even think it's going to be competition for the Lakers. It'll all be who makes it to the Western Conference Finals, meets them there. That would be the only hope that LeBron doesn't win a ring. The Western Conference Finals. If he wins the Western Conference Finals, you might as well go ahead and give him that 4th ring in his career. And then we'll start looking at next year.
So how do we feel about J.R. Smith getting his shot back?
Oh man. JR. So first off, if we're gonna talk about JR, let's talk about JR, the social justice warrior, knocking that kid's damn head off for what was it? What, broke a window on his truck or something like that? Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? Let's appreciate Mr. J.R. Smith for putting hands and feet on people. That was a hell of a kick. If he might have an MLS career after this, that head kick he had. But I think J.R. Smith, obviously there's a chemistry aspect, and a lot of people just think about on the court. But if you've played a sport before, you know, just having stuff on your bench, somebody that you're comfortable with. You're gonna be with these guys for 3 months, so you need somebody that JR doesn't have to go there and score 20 points. You know what I'm saying? He gets in, gets you some valuable minutes, plays defense, keeps the flow of the game going. He can finish the game with 5 points and still would have a big piece of the game, a big impact on the game. So I think just him, he knows LeBron and he's played with him. He's got all these just chemistry aspects. I think it was the right move. If we were looking for scoring,
I think now he's definitely going to get more minutes with Rondo being out. He was already filling in for Avery Bradley.
Well, Alex Caruso, he's got to get minutes now.
Oh yeah. Caruso, he's definitely had a good season so far, and I think with Bradley being out and also Rondo now, their minutes are definitely going up. So next we're talking about the team that pretty much made a swing for the fences, made the biggest free agency acquisition, and that is the LA Clippers at the 2 seed. It's hard not to say that they are the biggest threat to LeBron. It's like if LeBron doesn't get past them, he doesn't get to the finals. That's a given. Just because Kawhi Leonard still top 5 player in the league. You have Paul George, who's I want to say top 15 player, who's definitely going to give them buckets. Pat Beverly, and then they have just a solid overall bench. You got Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams. It's a team that's definitely built to go, I want to say, close matchup to matchup with the Lakers. And I feel as though if they got past the Lakers, they would also be one of the teams that are just unlocked to win the championship, because nobody in the East, I can legitimately say, would be a matchup issue. Okay. Maybe, I'll say this. I'll say Milwaukee, they can't beat the Clippers because Kawhi himself is just going to be, he's going to take out Giannis like it's nothing. And I think Coach Doc Rivers just will have a better game plan. And then when it comes to Toronto, I think they know each other well, but I don't think Toronto has that second guy yet that can go up against Paul George.
I think Paul George, so listen to the thing. Paul George, what Paul George are you going to get in these playoffs?
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I'll say this. The reason why Paul George is in a better situation is, yeah, he's the 2 guy, but now it's like he's a 2 guy that can, all right, I can step back like no issue and nobody's going to care. At the same time, I can step up like it's no problem because
he has Kawhi
in the front.
You still have to, when Kawhi gets off the court, right?
Because it's like this.
You got to take a scoring load. Is PG going to be that guy that was in MVP conversation, or is he when he was with the Thunder, or is he going to be, there was a couple years where he just passed up, to get you. I'm not saying he's not going to get 20 points.
Yeah.
I'm saying, is it going to be a timely point? Are you going to be a guy who late game situation or key moments in the game, you get a bucket to keep the flow of the game?
Well, I mean, who knows? It's like this. His defense is still weak, and on top of that, even if the scoring doesn't come from him, you still got Lou Williams, who's coming off the bench, and he's going to give you 20. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why Paul George is. You can say he's in the safe position to not be the guy on all the nights. So that's where it's like, all right, you have Kawhi, then you got Lou Williams coming off the bench for you. So he's straight right now where he's at.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta hope.
All right, next we have Denver. They're the 3 seed. Definitely expected this from them, just due to the fact of how they've just been going at it year after year, just getting better and letting their players grow and getting the right pieces to fit once they figure it out. Like finding out that having Jamal Murray play point, not really, being like another combo guard with Gary Harris instead of like forcing one of them to be a true point guard has helped them, let them score. Having Jokic pretty much like the center, kind of like how Dwight Howard was when he was in Orlando, kicking the ball out or working the guy down low who really can't keep up with the moves of a 7-footer being able to be a guard at the same time. And then they've just found the right pieces all around the team. So I think Denver, they have a chance to. Well, they'll obviously make it to the next round. I'll say that.
Yeah,
I think first round wise, they can make it out. It'll maybe be like 6 games because that's just how hard the West is. But I don't think that it's their year to make it all the way to the finals, especially because the 2 teams ahead of them are just built.
Yeah, but
better.
you look at Denver, and I think last year they were scoring north of like 115 points a game or something like that. So they're a high scoring team. They got a couple of guys who can get hot, put up points. They could make a run. Is it likely that they're gonna beat one of the top 2 seeds? I doubt it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have a high scoring game, get an overtime game against a really good team. But Denver's not one to sleep on. They make it out the first round, second round, I would say definitely goes another 6 games.
All right, so next we have the 4 seed, Utah Jazz, a team that you would think should have been in rebuild mode after letting Gordon Hayward leave, but they haven't missed the playoffs even without him. When they made the right decision in the draft, taking Donovan Mitchell, they got Joe Ingles, picked up Jordan Clarkson from the Cavaliers in a trade, and they got Rudy Gobert, who's definitely been a defensive player of the year.
Rudy and Donovan are both back, right?
Yeah, they're both back, both cleared from their COVID cases.
Are they both on good terms?
That's what's been the issue. Like lately, reports have been saying it's like now they've kept it completely business, but there's no hanging out, there's no talking. It's literally on the court, leave. It's kind of been like an awkward, or this is only business, but really I don't want to deal with you type situation. At least on Donovan's side, from what I heard.
You know what's crazy about that situation? We can't definitively prove that Rudy gave anybody who didn't already have the coronavirus. We could have very well been.
It could have been
Donovan Mitchell gave him coronavirus,
but there was the third player that nobody talked about, Emmanuel Mudiay. But it's like this. He was. I think everybody looks at Rudy just because of how reckless he was.
Reckless and careless, and that's why I think that they got to sit down and have a conversation, because I don't think Rudy Gobert is a bad guy at all.
No.
He was being silly, and this is before anybody really knew the magnitude of COVID-19.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there was malice behind it. I mean, he's apologized. He's completely embarrassed by the situation.
Oh yeah.
Time heals all. But I think that you string together a couple of wins, maybe in a few clutch situations, and that brotherhood. Sports just has a way of bringing people back together. Yeah. I don't see that it can only be strictly business, because you got to be this guy for 3 months in a bubble. You're not going to be able to just run away. Y'all don't have to share the same room, but you're going to be in team meetings. Yeah. You're going to be in film study. You're going to be in practice. You're going to be doing all this stuff together. So the likelihood that those two don't mend that, I think it was stupid. I'm not condoning what they did. Okay. But I do think that they'll fix that, just because that's how sports usually works. I mean, in my time in sports, I had some people wrong me, and then 2-3 weeks later, me and the person are best friends. So, I doubt that they won't figure it out.
So, play-wise, do we think they can make any type of noise? Because if we think about it, they've gotten better over these. This is Donovan Mitchell's 3rd season, and it's like the issue they had was, all right, they make it past the first round, which is amazing, versus with a rookie with Donovan Mitchell at the time. and then they'd run into the Houston Rockets and just get completely embarrassed. Happen again, make it past the first round, run into the Rockets again, get smacked. Do we think this is a year that they can possibly make it a little bit more competitive in the second round? Oh, Utah. I mean, they made it past to the second round these past 2 years with no issue. But it's when they get to that second round, that's when they run into a buzzsaw, which has most likely been James Harden the past 2 seasons.
Well, this is what's so.
Because I think the thing that people are mostly worried about, with at least Donovan Mitchell, is he's putting up points, but he's like completely inefficient. It's like they try to compare him to like a young D Wade just because of the height, style of play, but it's like he's not efficient. He doesn't have the efficiency that Wade has.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you got a guy who year in and year out could be defensive player of the year, anchoring the defense. You got to score in English, right? You know, he's there. Could they get out the second round? I don't see it just based off of how the West is set up. But they're not a bad team. They're just in a bad situation. You took that same team with the East, and they're probably a 1 or 2 seed. So, you know, when you talk about the West, I mean, you gotta have somebody who's an absolute bona fide superstar, and you know that's why they get beat by a real superstar. I'm not saying that those two guys they're all stars. Yeah, I don't think they're superstars though. They're not box office attractions just yet.
All right, so now we have 5 seed, the most shocking team in the West, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder. They made a trade that you would think meant to say that, all right, we're going to reset mode, when they trade Paul George for Shai Gilgeous and pretty much all of the Clippers picks for the next 4 years when it comes to the first round. And somehow, even with gaining CP3, who they weren't sure was going to want to play with a young team or possibly just, reset his career, they ended up getting the 5 seed, winning 40 games, and just been that most dangerous team that nobody's expecting to make it this type of run in the West.
Yeah, man. So you got to remember, anything is possible when you're talking about Chris Paul leading your team. I mean, if you take Chris Paul off the Clippers when he was there, how good are they really with just Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan? Even with Jamal Crawford coming off of them. I think when you look at CP3, even with Houston, look how the series changed when he got hurt. When they were playing the Warriors with KD, Yep. So anytime you got Chris Paul on your team, you already know your offense is just, the IQ of your offense has went up, exponentially. And then you got someone who's going to run the offense correctly, going to make sure everybody's in the right place. With CP3, it's always a possibility. Always a possibility that you're going to win the game as long as you're there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they literally had, I'll say, the most solid set of guards behind Houston. I mean, Shai Gilgeous, again, I think he's literally in the running for most improved player with another Kentucky guy in Bam Adebayo. Dennis Schroeder coming off the bench as a 6-man. Definitely done great this season. So, and Steven Adams has always been solid. So it's like the team was definitely not something that people were expecting to be good in the West, at least. Like in the East, they maybe could have got away with this, but the West is shocking. This is like a team that they were thinking all right, they're going to fall off, and CP3 is just going to have to waste another season away. But they actually stayed competitive, and they can literally move up in the seeding if they wanted to, if they take these games seriously, which I think they're going to do anyway.
Yeah, they'll be fine. I think that, in this new environment, you don't have fans. It could be a totally different game. Everything we're saying, like guys who feed off of fans in the clutch or at big moments in the game, you got to think this is going to be like a summer league game.
Yep.
With no fans. So who can just play basketball and focus on the game? That's what it comes down to. I wouldn't even be surprised if we do get some major upsets like March Madness type upsets, just because people are going to be. It's got to feel weird. Who's cheering when you score? Your teammates. I don't even know how the audio is going to sound when we're watching the game on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I heard when it came to the audio, that's another thing that ESPN is working on, and TNT is like, all right, we got to make sure we have our sensors on like 100 because with no crowd to cover up, we know that it's just going to be every word that you can think of that should be censored. When you think about NBA,
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I mean, I know just in a football game. You can hear stuff on the sideline on hot mics, they'll have a coach with a mic on. You can hear guys on the field saying stuff. So I think that's a very, very curious aspect. Like you got to think about the stuff that's going to be said is going to be magnified. When a guy's at the free throw line, everything that's said to him, if somebody says something slick to him, right? And we hear it, it's going to be a meme the next day. That might get into your head next time you're at the free throw line. So I think that when you got these veterans like Chris Paul, I wouldn't be surprised if they met a Jazz or a team that's young.
I'll say this like this. I think matchup wise, if they end up playing like Denver, they completely would be like a good matchup for them because Chris Paul versus Jamal and Gary Harris versus Shea, I'm going with OKC. And I think if they would end up against like Utah, I think that's definitely something they could win also. So that's why they're a team that's definitely dangerous and was definitely unexpected with the way they played this season. Because their roster should have been like, all right, time for a reset. But no, they stayed in it and stayed competitive. So at the 6th seed, a team that's definitely another team that kind of underachieved is the Houston Rockets, a team that currently has only one legitimate center who isn't even playing.
This is absolutely nuts. So the tallest player, 6'7".
They have Tyson Chandler, but he's not playing.
Yeah, that's so weird that you got a guy who can go off for 60. I'm talking about, and then you got one of the probably the most athletic player in the league, and Russell Westbrook. And somehow they're a 6th seed. That doesn't tell you how good the West is right now. But I still think when you talk about playoffs, you gotta have the superstars. The crowd, like again, no crowd though.
Yeah.
Who can play? I want to see who's the best practice player this morning. Because that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be like being a summer league. I think in the NFL when you do OTAs and you're going against a different team, But this would be interesting. Again, when you put that no crowd aspect, I think it changes a lot of things. But you got James Harden.
You're going to be
in the game. You got veterans. You got PJ Tucker out there. So I think they'll be fine. Now there's a team that I know you're coming up on, who I think people need to pay more attention to because they will be in the playoffs.
Let's see, number 7 seed, a team that isn't locked but can actually move up pretty high. And that is the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, when you talk about the Dallas Mavericks. Okay, so
I'll say this. Let me say something first. As a Spurs fan, I'll say this. I never want to see Houston and Dallas do good. And seeing that they've literally, only out of all of them, they've only won like one championship since forever. It's like, Dallas, it's like, all right, I like Luka. I like Kristaps. I like Rick Carlisle. It is like, I'll say this. I want to see them do bad. At the same time, though, I like too much to be like, I don't want to see them do horrible. So it's like,
they're great personalities.
Yeah,
for sure.
So it's like with them, they have obviously got Luka, Kristaps, who's definitely bounced back. He's up to like 20 points a game, and he's getting used to playing in the paint and still playing off Luka.
Let me ask you this: could it be that you're a little salty that your team is not even remotely in a position to do anything? They're
actually not too far off. Like, they can still slide in there. But the thing is, though, here's the thing. When we get to my team, we'll talk about them. But I'll say this. With Dallas, it's like this. They have a team that's young. This is their first time back in the playoffs for right now. They don't lose their seeding. Luka, I think he's box office. He's all star, and with Kristaps, who we can play off, Tim Hardaway Jr., who's definitely done better than expected.
You don't think that Luka's
solid.
He's reached the point of superstar yet?
No, he is, but it's like this is his first time in the playoffs. That's where we make or break him, because it's like you can be.
I don't just call guys all stars if I think they're a superstar. If I think you're a superstar, it's already clear that you're an all star. But you're better than you're a starting all star who will get buckets. You know what I'm saying? So I think Luka.
I'll say this: he's an all star right now. But once we get into the playoffs, and which is a whole different pressure, and on top of that, all right, you don't have to do the whole. I'm going on the road. I've got to play in front of my crowd. Like with this whole dynamic of being in the bubble, his whole situation is different. So we're going to see how he plays up against, on top of that situation and possibly playing one of the top 2 seeds in either.
Yes, but he's
Clippers
20 years old and he's already been beating those guys in the regular season.
True.
So I mean, he's young. He's been pro since he was like 16 or something like that.
Yeah.
Overseas, and he dominates. Like you don't even plan to like contain him. You just say, okay, we got to outscore him and just hope nobody else goes off.
Oh yeah.
So I think Luka's a superstar. Do I think he can do enough to upset one of the top 2 seeds he's got to better his position in his next 8 games?
I'll say this: when it comes to the playoffs, when he's locked in, when we see him be locked in, it all depends on what everybody around him is able to do. I think the main issue that Luka's going to have if he has to play either the Lakers or Clippers is, all right, you're most likely going to have LeBron James playing defense on you the entire game, or possibly even somebody else like JR if they decide to go that way. And if you play the Clippers, which is going to be a nightmare for him, he's either going to have to see Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Pat Beverly at the same time.
Don't they have Boban though? They've got
here's the thing, though.
Height down low. You got 7.
Here's the thing. It's like this. With Boban, he's going to come off the bench just because of the pace they play at. So they're most likely going to have Kristaps playing the 4 and the 5. But he might get more minutes due to the fact that I think Dwight Powell is still out. Like Dwight Powell, I think, got injured during the season. I don't know. I haven't looked up that if he's back or not, but he was usually the guy they had him playing the 5 while Kristaps played the 4. So I think it all depends on what the lineup is going to be, because it's definitely this is definitely the year that we can see, like, all right, is he going to finally make, how quick of a next step is he going to make? Because he already makes the teams that overlook him look bad. Because when you look at Sacramento, who didn't take him and took Marvin Bagley, you look at the Phoenix Suns, who are in the running for this playoffs, but they chose DeAndre Ayton over Luka. You see Atlanta, who completely got eliminated out, chose Trae Young, who wasn't a bad choice, but just, all right, he's not Luka. Same thing with Marvin and DeAndre Ayton, who haven't been bad. It's just that they're not Luka. So it's like, this is just time to actually show, like, another reason why, hey, I should have been the number 1 overall pick in this draft compared to everybody else that got chosen over. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say that Kristaps, his ability to stretch the floor, but also he's just so big that he can go down low if he had to.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's gotten bigger. That's the thing. He gained the weight while he was during the season and while he was out with the injury. So it's like he's not that skinny guy in New York who could surprise you and get to the paint and just shoot all the time. Like, no, he's definitely someone who can play the 5 also now. So next we have the other surprise team in the West, the current 8 seed, the Memphis Grizzlies. So, how do you feel about him?
Ja Morant.
He's real.
So like I said, box office potential, yeah, he's exciting. Do we need to sit here and act like Memphis is going to make a splash this year? I don't think so. I think that he'll give us plenty of highlights in those 8 games leading up to the season, but I don't think that they're...
You don't think they're going to hold it?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think that... I'm just not sure that they got enough star power. It's the West, so anything's possible. Again, I don't think everybody understands how big no crowd is going to do. Like football games, I can't imagine a football game with no crowd. So I would again, the West is so overpowered. The likelihood of them keeping the AC, who knows? But it's the West. You never know. But John Morant is exciting. I will not miss a game that he's playing in. He's gonna dunk on somebody. He's gonna cross somebody up. Famous will also have him in some more highlights, I'm sure. But as far as if we're talking about this 22 team, I don't think we need to be putting a lot of time into that.
All right. No, I mean, I feel as though the only team that's really a threat to them all is Portland and maybe San Antonio, just based off experience. But I feel as though Portland may be it because Damian Lillard's coming back. And he's obviously healthy, rested, and that's somebody I definitely would want to see.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if they can hold on to it, but if they do, that's just another reason why John Morant is the rookie of the year. So next we have the ninth seed for the West who's trying to play in is Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the reason why they're this low due to the season is just due to the fact that Damian Lillard was hurt. Like that's pretty much what it was. Damian, if he's not hurt, they're a little bit higher.
If any team was going to win 6, 7, or 8 out of 8 games, it's got to be Portland. There's, if it's not for an injury, they're already in the top 6, I believe.
Yeah.
You got 2 elite guards. You got 2 big men who are exceptional at their crafts. One's a defensive specialist, the other one's just a specialist down low. You got Carmelo Anthony, who, as much as I don't think he is this bona fide elite Hall of Famer that everybody makes him out to be, I'll get slack for saying that. Obviously, he's an elite scorer. I think that you can't sleep on that team. If they get in, it's fair game against everybody. I wouldn't want to play.
I mean, they got Trevor Ariza also, so they got another vet coming off the bench.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play. I would not want to play Portland. If they get the 8 spot, cool. If they get up to the 7th, I feel bad for second seed because that's going to be an interesting game. We've already seen Damian Lillard out higher seeds before, hitting a game winner against James Harden back in the day. So, me personally, I would avoid Portland at all costs if I'm a coach of the team. If I'm a GM, I wouldn't want to see my team match up against them.
No, I mean, yeah, they're definitely a team that got hurt by injuries when it comes to seeding. But yeah, I just feel like they're maybe the more dangerous team when it comes to between Memphis and Portland when it comes to AC. But at the same time, though, it's like there's got to be a reason why they're at the 9 seed other than injuries. We got to look at the rest of the team. Like, we know CJ, he's more used to playing the 2, so maybe that's why he was playing out of position. That may be effective. Carmelo literally came in right before the breakout, and he had some games where we saw it, and he had some games where it's like, all right, we see he's got the rust. Mm-hmm. So next we have the team that the NBA and the NBA world wants to see make it into the playoffs, even if they do get swept or even just put up a good fight, and that is the New Orleans Pelicans. So, let's see. I'll say this. I understand money-wise why everybody wants to see them. Like, everybody wants to see Zion. Everybody wants to see Lonzo lob it up to him in the full court, drive, and just go crazy. Everybody wants to see if Brandon Ingram is literally going to be real. And they want to see that if they do get the 8 seed, they want to see that story play out where, all right, the young guys, Brandon, Lonzo, and Josh Hart versus the Lakers, the team that kicked them out. See what happened in that type of story for playoffs.
Ladies and gentlemen, that would not be that exciting. As cool as it sounds, I know that Brandon cannot guard LeBron by himself. Let's go ahead and just it sounds good though.
No, like Cowboys, it sounds fun, but I understand that it's like I understand they're not gonna be able to actually go up against the Lakers
sweep
at all. But it's like I understand seeing Zion possibly going up against LeBron, possibly seeing that passing out the torch type situation. But it's like they have the schedule they have set up in the 8 games kind of sets them up to get there. But I don't think they can do it because Portland is just way ahead of them.
Portland's coming back. I mean,
they're built to be ahead of them. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, down low in the post though, they're just gonna get destroyed when you look at it. You got Whiteside down there. He's gonna be offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. If Whiteside can just get you 10 points, and his usual 15 rebounds, that's all Dame really needs. Anything over that is just overachieving. If Nurkic is healthy, we got a whole different playoffs. And we're talking about a system where, there's no crowd. No one has any sixth man, in the crowd yelling or anything like that. This is literally who can just run their sets in front of their coaches and play basketball, in a setting. There's no hype. There's not going to be somebody dunks and then looks at the crowd and, gets them hype. And now you got the room rocking. Unless they're going to have the other teams in the stand.
I mean, that's something I want to know. Like, if we think, just imagine the other teams are in the stand. If we're thinking like AAU and all that, would that be awkward if, all right, so gets crossed up and a whole bunch of NBA players see that and they start going crazy back in the AAU days? And
again, with social
would that be?
I doubt that they're gonna have all of them in the same room.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But it would have been cool if you seen NBA players
the All-Star game,
the All-Star game, yeah, for sure, All-Star practice or Team USA practice. We lived in Vegas when they were in Vegas with Kobe and all that. So it would that would be cool, but again, I don't think that people are really considering the fact that no crowd to feed off of. So if you make a mistake, it's really not even, if you get crossed, there's not a lot of people that's gonna say that. You'll be a meme, you'll be a video on Twitter or something, but there's not gonna be a crowd to give you who's gonna yell ooh or get you psyched out. All you do is get up and keep playing. It's like playing, almost. I mean, if there was no cameras, it'd just be a practice.
Oh yeah, so definitely a scrimmage. And so next we have a team that players-wise I'd like to see win, but coaching-wise I don't want to see make it, and that's the Sacramento Kings.
Coaching-wise, you don't want to see make it.
Oh no, we're gonna talk about some of these coaches that still get chances to coach, even though they've proven that they're awful. Mm-hmm. So we have the Sacramento Kings with De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Bojan Bogdanovic, and pretty much another team full of players that somewhat overachieved, but at the same time not, because they still would have been outside of the playoffs if they would cut it off like it was nothing. So me personally, for people that don't know, I'm a Kentucky fan. And De'Aaron Fox, I feel as though he was the best point guard since John Wall to lead Kentucky. And I feel as though he's in a bad situation in Sacramento already. And the fact of with the current coach they have, which is the former coach of the Lakers, what's his name? No. Hold on. Let me, who was the current coach of the Sacramento Kings? The former Lakers coach who shouldn't have gotten an opportunity. And so he's...
Oh, you're talking about Luke Walton?
Yes, Luke Walton. That's his name.
Oh, yes. Wow. Yeah. You don't think Luke Walton deserved an opportunity?
No.
I think about Luke Walton. You got to think he literally
got his job due to the fact of the autoplay Warriors going on a run without seeing.
So you say autoplay?
Yes, the autoplay.
So you think that the Warriors
at the time? Yeah.
But the Warriors, yes, it is.
Because think about it. You know who else got a job after being on that autoplay, and that's Alvin Gentry. He was, even though, and I'll say this, Alvin Gentry has more of a reputation and more of a record.
Who didn't do the job?
Who?
Mark Jackson. So
no, because he didn't. Remember, Mark Jackson was there before the next. Yes,
he set up that team though. Yes. Mark Jackson is just common.
But the thing is, think about it. Mark Jackson, the reason why he was out is way different than Alvin Gentry left because New Orleans was given an opportunity. Lakers were looking for a face that people knew because, Luke Walton was a former player, got a championship. And they're like, all right, he would make a decent coach because he's been an assistant coach for the Warriors. And they looked at that small stretch where Steve Kerr was out and they just saw
He won
like
22 games.
yeah. But at the same time, they're thinking about who they had on the roster. So it's like, all right, it's not like he had to do much.
I can see why you might not think he's as good as he is, but
no. Then let's look at what he did with the Lakers, where he had Lonzo Ball, you had Brandon Ingram, you had Julius Randle while they were young.
A bunch of
Here's the thing.
suckers.
There was no development out of them. No development out of them. And as soon as they all get away from him, Brandon Ingram becomes an all-star. Lonzo Ball's shot is finally magically fixed. Julius Randle is literally a walking double-double legitimately.
How long do you think it takes to develop truly into the NBA?
I'll say this. Why didn't we see any other glimpse of that with Brandon Ingram, what he's doing now in New Orleans? No, we didn't. Like, everybody was saying, like, he was looking like a bust.
I think that...
And then you think about it, it's like the cloud was even higher over Brandon Ingram due to the
I don't like his...
Look who was above Brandon Ingram when he got drafted. Yeah, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons can shoot. Ben Simmons, as soon as he gets his first season in the NBA, what happens? Philadelphia goes straight to the playoffs, a real threat.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but Brandon Ingram, although, and now let me be clear. I am not a huge fan of his game. I don't like he doesn't like whoa me when I'm watching his game. But I think that it would have been way too early to call him a bust. You know, he wasn't like
here's the thing,
he was going out there and like Markel Fultz. I watched him play. I'm like, this is not impressive at all.
Yeah.
This guy didn't even play at a big school, or you know. But yeah, I don't think I wouldn't have called him a bust. But that's just
here's the thing, though. I think they're calling him a bust because just look at Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons came a season after you, and Philadelphia won like 50 games and was in the playoffs as a legitimate threat. Mm-hmm. And if they didn't run into the 76ers, the Celtics, they maybe could have made it to the next round. Could have been a real threat until they would have possibly had to verse Cleveland. So it's like, that's the difference between, all right, Brandon Ingram, who wasn't doing anything, wasn't even the name anymore. Like, as soon as they got Lonzo Ball, it was like, all right, who's Brandon Ingram? And then as soon as they get away from the Lakers, Luke Walton, what happens? He's an all-star. Lonzo looks like the point guard that everybody thought he was going to be. And you even look at Julius Randle, who left, and then...
Okay, so this is what I will tell you. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, okay? This is what I'll tell you, and I'll give you this point that Luke Walton might be a bad coach. We just had breaking news that Rashawn Holmes, the Kings center, he's being re-quarantined for leaving the bubble. Okay, so you know they put out clear-cut rules for these guys to abide by. Obviously, they're adults. You can't watch them 24/7. But as a coach, you got to know in this pandemic, like, this is, if you leave, instant 14 days. Don't care if you even test positive, like, that's the rule right now. So he's got to get re-quarantined right now until the testing comes back that it's going to be, you know, positive or negative, whatever it is. But I haven't heard any other team yet have a player sneak out of the bubble and try to come back in. So the center for the Kings just came across breaking news that this guy left the bubble.
Hey, that's
so
another thing.
All this time to put this together, he left the bubble and so Rashawn Holmes, you're an idiot.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a leadership issue also, because I'm pretty sure no other coaches would definitely be disrespected by a player by being dumb enough to leave during a pandemic when the entire NBA is set up a complete bubble with you tagged to not leave. So it's like, all right. But at the same time, though, it's like, all right, I understand Luke Walton being a bad coach, but the only reason why he's got that opportunity is because a bad GM and a bad owner.
You're subject to 10 days quarantine if you leave the bubble. He left to pick up a food delivery, and I don't see how there's not food provided.
No, there is. That's
or
the thing.
Another option. Maybe he had to get his favorite meal though, but I'm not sure it's worth 10 days before the start of the regular season.
But I'll say this: they're definitely not giving the 8 seed, but I think they'll make it interesting. Like him, De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hill, Boyan, they're exciting. They're good. But I'm still shocked by like Harrison Barnes still being around somehow. Like that's definitely a player that's definitely something that's funny. Next we have my team, unfortunately, the San Antonio Spurs.
You don't sound too confident.
So, here's what I'll say. The San Antonio Spurs are currently going into the seeding tournament without LaMarcus Aldridge, who's our second leading scorer with about 18 points and obviously 10 rebounds and all that. Walking double-double that he is. With them, it all depends on coaching. If anybody who cared to watch the Spurs this season, which I know not most people do, you would know that for some reason Popovich has been on, some people want to call it stealth tanking, where it's like, Spurs, are they trying to tank, but are they trying to be competitive? People weren't trying to figure it out. So one of the main reasons why they thought people were tanking was due to the fact of, one, the players that they were giving minutes, which maybe wouldn't have gotten starters minutes like they would in the other NBA team, is Marco Bellinelli, and the starter who's literally, I think he's the longest starting player on the Spurs right now, and Brent Forbes, who position-wise is one of the worst defensive guards currently in the NBA at shooting guard. So with those moves, and also with the DeMar Carroll signing, which they ended up letting them walk because Popovich, for some reason, didn't want to play him. And I'll say this, DeMar Carroll is the nicest guy in the NBA because if a team signs me and doesn't want to play me, I'm not giving them back $20 million like it's nothing. Like me personally, you're going to pay me while I go play for another team. But that's just me. So that didn't work out. They traded Davis Bertans, who had a breakout season for Washington, because they thought they were going to get, I think it was Marcus Morris, who ended up deciding not to go to San Antonio and ended up playing for the Knicks. So their roster kind of caught up to them due to the fact of it being guard heavy and just not being not getting enough minutes. And that's the best way to say it. Like, the roster has been set up crazy. The lineups that Popovich put out has been not a good mesh, and it's shown just on offense and defense. Like defense, the Spurs are currently ranked number 24 in the entire NBA in defensive efficiency. And that's with LaMarcus Aldridge having a breakout season, being number 10 in the entire NBA with blocks. And then you have Jakob Poeltl, who is also somewhere high up in the ranking with his defense. So I'll say this. I think experience-wise, we can make it. We can make it to the 8th seed. But I think, do we need to make it? That's been the question. Because I think it all depends on what does Popovich want to do with the lineup. If he goes out there and starts Brent Forbes, then we're not going to be able to win. Because I think now, like with my brother, what he was saying, like, all right, there's no crowd. The players are going to be playing different. It's not going to be a good time to be trying to play Brent Forbes against a hungry Damian Lillard, a hungry Buddy Hill, a hungry James Harden. It's going to be like, all right, he's food. And then it's like, we have the young guys who, some of these guys haven't even played in the NBA, like somebody like Luka Samic, who's been out in the G League. And we have Keldon Johnson, who's maybe played I think they said maybe a total of 8 minutes for every couple games they let him in. But other than that, most of these guys have been in the G League. So it's like they don't have the experience, and is this the perfect time to try to throw young guys who stayed in the G League into the bubble tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to debate you on your team.
No, I mean, say what you want to.
You do enough research on them. It's hard for me, much like, when people were trying to suggest that the Patriots and the football realm would even think about tanking, having the number one corner in the league, having the best coach of all time. So I don't think Greg Popovich, a Hall of Fame coach, would ever waste the latter years of his career not pulling for a chance to win games. So I think that going out there, he's going to go out there with every intention to win. Do I think they have enough star power at all to make something happen, especially with LaMarcus Aldridge not playing? I don't think so. But that system has been proven to prove me wrong plenty of times. I've had plenty of teams that I enjoyed watching lose to the damn Spurs. So.
And so last we have the last team that can play their way into the 8th seed, and that is the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns, I'll say they definitely have let Devin Booker down a lot. They had a chance to go after D'Angelo Russell twice and didn't put in any effort. And recently it's been news that he's definitely been mad about that. They're just a team that, well, I'll say a franchise that don't know what to do right now to get right. And the fact that they had a chance to still play is something that can look good and at the same time look bad for them once they get out there. They had DeAndre Ayton, the former number 1 seed, who started off the season with a suspension due to possible PEDs, so he missed like 20 games. They had Ricky Rubio, who they got in free agency from the Jazz, who I think scoring still is his issue, and that's why they're still as low as they possibly can be, even though he gives them, the Phoenix, finally a point guard that can move the ball and supposedly take more pressure off of Devin Booker, but he just hasn't really lifted them up the way that they need to be lifted. And they had Kelly Oubre Jr., who was having a breakout season, but unfortunately he's out with an injury, so he's not with the team right now. So it's I'll say that they're just fodder. That's the best thing to say. I mean, we may get a good game out of a couple good games out of Devin Booker, see him putting up points like he's known to do, but sure, I don't think that they're going to be able to really compete for that 8th seed the way that the NBA for some reason decided to slide them in to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think that they got Ayton down low, right? He's a massive human being. If you have not seen their center for the Suns, the guy, his shoulder width and wingspan, he's a 7', 7', 7'1" or something like that. Yeah. He's an absolute freak. So down low, I mean, if at minimum he could just get rebounds and kick it back out to Devin Booker for a second shot, I think Devin Booker will light it up. Probably have a 1 or 2 40-point games before they don't make the 8th seed. But it's a team they're not expected to do much. They're there as a filler. That was their purpose. Just put a team there and hope that a really good team, while they're playing them, somebody doesn't get hurt. One of the superstars get hurt playing them. But the Suns, there's nothing special there.
So yeah, I think we're pretty much wrapping up on our take when it comes to the NBA restart. And yeah, this is definitely going to be a good and somewhat awkward NBA restart when it comes to at least the seeding tournament. I don't think that there'll be any I don't think it's going to be a distraction or anything like that. I think it's good entertainment, at least when it comes to the playoffs and people just having something to watch. So yeah, any last words?
No, it's a privilege to be on. I've enjoyed this talk about the NBA restart. Excited to talk about the possibilities of college football, NFL. Hopefully on the next take, if you have me on here again. But yeah, I think when it's all said and done, we will be crowning the king of 4th Jewel. I think he will get his 4th win. Whether or not people will respect this ring doesn't matter. He'll still have more. This ring will be more legitimate than Kevin Durant's 2 BS rings with the Warriors. And I'm out.
All right. Hopefully everybody enjoys. Remember to listen out for more episodes. There'll definitely be links. I think I have a link tree now. You can look at that, and it'll show you where you can listen to this podcast and all the other ones. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy and stay safe, wear a mask, and get ready for more NBA.